How we doing? Great to get season started and great to be at Williams-Brice Stadium for our opener going into our third season. Previous 2 years have been on the road, so we're excited to be here at noon on September 1st against Coastal Carolina. I think we've made some progress through training camp. We'll certainly find out on Saturday. There's no redos. Can't blow the whistle and start it over again, on game day. And our guys understand that. We've had good preparation to this point. Obviously have a Wednesday and Thursday practice and a Friday walkthrough and tee it off on Monday at noon. Cannot wait to get in front of our fan base. Excited about that as well. Coastal Carolina, Joe Moglia, last year had a health issue, so it's good to get him back on the sideline. He's done a really good job there at Coastal. And Jamie Chadwell, their offensive coordinator, did a fantastic job at Charleston Southern, presents a lot of issues for you defensively. As far as the spread run game, some option principles, the two receivers that can really run on the outside, 5 returning starters on the offensive line. Anderson, the quarterback's a dual threat guy that can do both things for him. Marvin Sanders, their defensive coordinator, is new, was with Bo Pelini at Nebraska, and one of the better defenses in college football at that time. Again, when you're preparing for a new coordinator, you got to get ready for it all. You have no idea, maybe some of the things that they might try and do, so we need to be able to adjust and adapt during the game, and we certainly will be able to do that. But Marvin's a really good football coach, and will do a good job. We need to be well prepared for Saturday, and I like our preparation to this point, but obviously we're not there yet. Injury-wise, just to kind of update you, Wyatt Campbell still has about a month before he will be cleared. Chad Terrell, we think, will be cleared at the end of September, so it'd be good to get Chad back. Jesus Gibbs got about 3 more weeks. Levante Valentine, we think, has got about another week and a half. Chavis Dawkins would probably be doubtful for Saturday at this point based on his ankle. I think we'll get him back certainly in another week. Tyreek Johnson and Caleb Kinlaw are obviously out for the season. Very disappointing news from last week. Taven Jackson was forced to give up football. He has a sickle cell trait, and based on how it was explained to me, you have certain percentages of the sickle cell trait, and unfortunately his is very high. And after meeting with his family, Dr. Guy, Clint Haggard, our medical staff, to hear all of the different avenues we traveled down as far as seeing experts to try to find a solution to help Taven, this was the best answer, and it's very unfortunate. He's an extremely talented young man as a player, but even more so off the field, extremely bright. He'll be successful in whatever he does. That's always a very difficult conversation to have, but his life is a lot more important than football, that's for sure. So I hate that for him and us moving forward, but certainly here to support him. He's going to stay here at the university and get his degree and help our football program in some form. So we're looking forward to that. But depth chart we gave you out today, and you got any questions on that, I'll answer them now. Go ahead.
Well, with the depth chart, with Parker doing kickoff and PK, how long of a leash, per se, does he have? I mean, if he goes out there and he misses the first one, is that Alexander's time?
No, I think Parker's earned the job in camp, and certainly, like any other position, if he produces well to position, certainly is going to continue to kick for us. If we feel like we need to make a change to help our football team, no different than any other position.
What did JT eBay show you since coming back from the injury to kind of earn this spot? And you have JC listed as a nickel.
Mm-hmm. It's all about getting your best 4 and 5 out there. We recognized very early in camp that JC was going to be one of those guys, and then as we continue to rep through camp, seeing Keyshawn rep outside, JC rep inside, felt comfortable playing inside, and felt comfortable about that move, and getting number one, our best 5 on the field. JT, after being cleared, I think did a fantastic job of grasping our defense and what we do, the physicality, the urgency he plays with. Jam and Nick will both play as well, but certainly JT's earned the opportunity to start.
Well, what's the biggest difference, you think, for your guys between a typical week in fall camp and then game week?
Well, I think that they're tired of hitting each other. That's the first thing. Training camp to a certain point becomes very repetitive as far as the things that we do. And now you're seeing some different schemes with scout teams. You're seeing some different things as far as film is concerned. You're having the opportunity to go play at Williams-Brice Stadium in front of 80,000 people. They're all looking forward to that. So, to have opportunity to play in that environment, just sitting here gets me excited. So I know our players feel the same way.
Will the or at running back means they're all going to get to play? Is
Yeah,
that
I would envision all four playing.
What have you seen out of that?
All have deserved it.
Yeah.
All four of those guys have had really good camps. Again, we need to get competition at every position like that, because you understand that you've got an opportunity to go strain every single day to earn your opportunity to play. And those guys, again, they've made our football team better because of that competition.
You listed Shamik, obviously, at backup defensive end behind Aaron. Just what have you seen from him in camp, and what can he bring to you from a pass rushing standpoint, especially on the third down? Yeah, Shamik.
Well, I think he's had a good camp. The thing that I'll say about Shamik, he's changed his body, he's gotten stronger. He plays with a high motor. He is also going to play inside for us some as well. So he's a guy that can give us some position multiplicity. And again, we got all the confidence in the world. He's going to play well for us. But he also, in some pass rush situation, gives us some more speed inside, which we need.
Will, what have you seen out of J.C. Horn throughout this camp?
I think that, really good man coverage skills. He used his length very well. He finishes on the top of routes. When I sit there and ask our receivers, I go to Brian Edwards and Debo Samuel, who do you like? J.C.'s good, coach. I kind of trust players on that. But he's got good zone instincts, and repeatedly through camp, he's making plays on the ball. He's a ball hawk mentality. He gets his hands on the ball a lot. And when you're able to do that, I tell guys all the time, we're going to figure out a way to get you on the field if you can get your hands on the ball.
And also, what happened to Shane Hines?
Shane is going to enroll in Wayne State. He did not enroll in classes here. A wonderful young man. Something I hate it didn't work here, but wanted to get closer to home and has an opportunity there. We wish him all the best.
I know one of your concerns going into camp, you said you feel you have a top six with the offensive line. How do you feel you have filled out the depth beyond the top five and Malik?
I think we have a tremendous confidence in Chandler Farrell as our backup center. Javon Gwynn and Dylan Wonnum both have made some strides. They're guys that we feel like will play on Saturday. We want to be able to get them in the game to continue to build that depth, and the way you do that is by us playing the game. Jordan Rose is another young man that's come along well for us. So within that group, you're thinking in terms of 10 guys that you have some confidence in playing.
Well, where have you seen the most amount of improvement in this offense in the last month?
I think there's several things. I think tempo has been much better as far as getting on the ball and dictating the tempo of the game. I think Brian's mentality as a play caller, because I think it all goes back to the mentality of the play caller, very aggressive in what we're trying to do down the field. In order to create explosive plays, you got to take some shots. But I've seen that. I think, to me, I go back to the tempo of what we're playing with is going to help us in the run game. It's going to help us in protecting Jake. It's going to help us to be able to sustain more on drives.
Coach, during camp, I'm sure the defense had a good chance to be able to go up against the ones, be able to get used to that tempo. But the reality is, there might be some situations where you guys go 3 and out with going fast, and the defense might not have as much rest. How do you prepare the guys defensively throughout the season so they're still able to get ready in case they're called upon like that?
Well, when they step on the field, they're expected to play at a high level regardless of how many snaps we play. So that's an excuse to me. So when you step on between the white lines, go play well. You get so many opportunities, go play well.
Coach, what are the biggest unknowns as you head into the first game of the season, and what do you hope to learn about your team?
The unknowns would be the depth on both lines of scrimmage. I mentioned some young men earlier, Dylan Wonnum, Javon Gwynn, Jordan Rhodes. Those guys haven't played. Chandler Farrell in game-like situations. Ricky Sandage, J.J. Mbare, those guys have not played in game-type situations. The unknowns of some of the freshmen that are listed in the 2 deep that are definitely going to play. How are they going to respond in front of 80,000 people? I mean, those are always concerns going into the game. I have utmost confidence in all those young men, but how will they respond when the lights turn on? And that's something you never know.
Will, Coastal didn't have the greatest year last year, but they came that close to beating Arkansas. How much have you mentioned that game to the guys this week?
Well, we really haven't. Every week's a season around here, and we're going to totally focus and dial in on our opponent this week, and that's Coastal. And regardless of who we're playing or standing on the other sideline, we're going to respect our opponent. We're going to look at the schemes and what they do and what we need to do to win the football game, dial in on those things, and play the way we're capable of playing.
Well, you have some pretty good guys, it looks like, as number 2 on the depth chart. Is that indicative of the good position battles you had? And what does that say about the gradual depth improvement over the last couple of years?
Well, there's no question. I mean, I got some guys, and I don't get big into the depth chart. I know you guys, it's like really the most important thing probably that's happened in your life recently. But, I mean, to me, it's about who finishes the game, not necessarily who starts the game. So that's really what I concentrate on. And that's that's the most important thing. So again, there's no question we've improved our depth. We have more quality depth to be able to play more guys, to have guys be able to sustain longer in the game and play at a high level. And you don't want a lot of drop off when you don't have a guy in there and you put into somebody else and you're holding your breath hoping he plays well. And we're much better in that regard.
And any update on Josh Belk and Jamal Cook?
No, not at this time.
Well, obviously, 2 years ago, you had a lot of work to do on defense as far as depth and talent and players like that. When you sit here today, how far along that track do you feel? Do you feel like you're in a better position now, obviously, than maybe a couple of years ago, or are you getting closer to where you want to be?
I think we're certainly better. I don't know we'll ever be where we want to be. Never be satisfied with where you are. So, but we've made improvements. We got to continue to take steps forward.
DeCurion and Jay running scout.
They're doing both. They're with our offense at times during practice, and they're running a scout team. But that's not just with them. We're doing that with multiple players, young players especially, that'll be playing on Saturday.
How do their skill sets help you prepare for Coastal and their offense?
Well, again, both guys are tremendous athletes and run extremely well, and so that part of it is a huge part of what they do. So certainly it's helped.
What did JJ do to distinguish himself from Rick and the other linemen to be the backup there to Kier?
I think as much as anything, JJ was here in the spring. So when he started fall camp, he wasn't here in over front for the first time. But I see JJ and Ricky playing about the same snaps on Saturday. No, I don't see any difference there.
Well, sometimes over an offseason there might be a disciplinary issue that gets taken out of the first game. Do you know of anybody who will be suspended for this one?
Not at this time other than Javon Charleston.
Well, we talked to several of the players today, and they talk about how they get tired of going against each other in camp. As a coach, do you get a little weary of watching them go against each other, and you get more and more anxious to see how well they'll play against another opponent?
Well, absolutely. That's why you coach, and that's why you play. It's game day. And the preparation is an awesome part of that process, and I enjoy that a lot. But, I enjoy the arena on game day. That's why you coach.
Coach, can you talk about the leadership of the team going into this year, how it's compared in years past, with Bryson back, and guys like that kind of leading the program now as you guys enter in game week?
I think I'm much more comfortable now in our third year of where we are as far as those things are concerned, that our players understanding our expectation of practice, of workouts, of meetings, of game day, and how we want to be perceived. And I think that we've got really good leadership on this football team and guys that certainly take ownership in what it takes to be successful.
How do you see the tight end reps working out, and what did Kyle Markaway do to kind of separate himself and work his way into that too deep?
Well, all four guys will play. There's no doubt about that. I mean, KC obviously does a really good job in the slot, but is also a guy that can play in the C area and block. Kiel's really elevated himself in the slot. Jacobs can do both, and Kyle's can do both. So, again, all four of those guys will play, and depending on how well they play, will certainly determine moving forward. Evan Henson's going to get some snaps as well. I mean, we've got some different packages for him, that a guy that's really elevated himself as camp continued to move forward.
Coach, with the redshirting rule, being able to play guys 4 games at least, how do you get those? I mean, when do those talks start happening? Is it a week by week kind of thing, or do you kind of look at it now that it's week 1?
Well, we've had a lot of discussion about that, and I had another one again yesterday about guys of situationally, who are we playing, and so we've had discussion about certain individuals. given the opportunity to be able to go into the game, we like to get them some game experience. But it all goes back to the same thing: is he going to help us win the football game? Then we're playing him. Period. End of sentence. And then you've got those guys that you star, and you kind of asterisk to say, okay, we get the opportunity, we're going to play this guy in the game. So, but again, those situations we plan for game day, and then sometimes the situations changes on game day, how the game is flowing and how the game's going. So we plan for that, and obviously we're prepared for a lot of different scenarios that could happen.
So you're planning ahead, though. You're looking ahead at
Absolutely. I mean, but I do think it's a week-to-week process. I don't think it's just something you're just saying. And then when you get to those 4 games, you're making a decision with a player. Do we continue to move forward? Is he contributing enough to make a difference for our football team, or do you sit him?
When JT got on the field, how much did maybe his experience maybe ease your concerns at that position, or are they still there heading into the season?
No, I think absolutely. When you have a player that's played a lot in the last 3 years at a high level, that experience helps them. The game is slowed down, and the biggest learning curve is just schematically what we do and how we call things. And but both he and Nick have done a fantastic job of learning what we do. They're both extremely bright, and I expect both of them to play well.
Debo was talking about his course load this semester. How nice is it for him or any other guy who gets to have just one class and enjoy the season? And
pretty good deal.
Did you have that luxury when?
I did, actually, and we were on the quarter system. I only had to take one class. All those classes there are easy anyway, so we're good. I'm just kidding. God, everybody gets so sensitive nowadays. You say one thing and they go nuts,
Coach, how do you feel about Jake Bentley and his chemistry with his wide receiving core?
Really good. I think he's had a really good training camp, and he's got some weapons outside. Jake's been very accurate with the football. I want to say his completion percentage is right, close to over 65, between 65 and 68% for team drills during camp. So I think he's thrown the ball extremely well. Whether it's really what our running backs don't get credit, they catch the ball extremely well. As our tight ends and our receivers. So I like the progress we've made throwing the football.
Well, TJ was telling us that the biggest improvement maybe on this defense has been just the defensive lineman getting to the quarterback. Have you noticed the same thing? What do you think has been the biggest improvement over the last month?
No, I agree with TJ. I think that getting Bryson back is huge, and that really hurt us last year, losing his edge presence, because he is a guy that can win with speed on the edge. We didn't really possess that as much. Dennis has always been a very steady rusher for us. Aaron Sterling's been a nice addition outside. He really got some pressure on the quarterback late in last season, has continued to progress well, but both Kier and Javon have done a really nice job of pushing the pocket inside. They're both very effective guys because they understand it's more about pushing the pocket and affecting the quarterback than trying to win on the rush. And once those inside players start figuring that out, they become much more effective rushers down in, down out. So I've been, very pleased with how we've progressed in a 4-man rush, and now you got to do it on game day.
Will, who exactly came up with the all gas, no brakes thing, and what does that mean to you?
Well, I guess after the game I thought about it. So I guess me, I don't know. But that was just my mindset going into the off season, thinking forward while we were in Tampa about our football team. And to me, it's constantly pushing the envelope and what we got to do to be successful, and not holding up for anything. And that's been our mantra and our mentality going into the all-season program, into the summer, and into fall camp.
Will, depth chart being what it is, how confident are you in that secondary being able to rotate and all play those different positions?
Well, there's guys that are going to play. You look in terms of, JC's also going to play corner as well. Jam's going to play nickel. Jam's going to play safety. Nick Harvey's a guy we got a lot of confidence in and playing the safety position. Israel's going to play at corner. I mean, so we've got confidence with the flexibility that we have in the secondary.
Well, Bryson and Jake were talking about the wristbands you handed out to the team. With everything going on next week, everyone knows how big of a game that is. How important is it, especially for the younger guys, to realize, hey, we got to take care of Coastal. I know you have a lot of respect for them, and then not look ahead, and to just keep that motto all season.
Well, it's really our motto all the time, and I always talked about the players to every week as a season. So let's focus and be dialed in to what we can control this week, and that's playing Coastal. End of sentence. And really, whether it's in the meeting room, whether it's on the practice field, but all of our concentration needs to be there. And everybody else can talk about all the other stuff. We need to handle what we can control, and that's playing Coastal. And our preparation is so important for that. So that to me was my message for our team.
Will, the turf out there looks great. Have you had a chance to go out there yourself? And are you going to maybe, unlike regular weeks, get the kids out there to run around some on it some to kind of test it out before Saturday?
No, I think it'll be fine. It looks great to me. I walked on it yesterday. It looked awesome. You know, we did plan this. We actually had a plan for this. I know it shocks people, but we actually had a really good plan. They do this in almost every NFL stadium. They have a concert on a Saturday or Sunday. They have a lay-and-play turf. They put it down, and 7 days later they play on it. So.
For them to kind of like run around on it to settle it or anything like that before Saturday?
No. It's a phenomenal concept. It's lay and play. You lay it down and you play on it. They've rolled it a bunch. They got a big roller. They roll it.
I guess for you guys as coaches, you've watched these guys for about a month. You had spring. When you come into a game, how much sort of confidence is there? What I see should be able to translate, and how much is there when the bolts start flying? It could be a whole different kind of thing.
As far as what?
As far as watching, knowing what you have, thinking you know what you have. That kind of thing.
Certainly. I mean, you never know a guy's going to react in front of 80,000 people when he runs out of the tunnel. And sometimes I get on the headsets and say, hey, so-and-so don't look real good down here. We may need to have a backup plan. And we talk about that a lot as a staff. How is he going to respond in those situations? So you never really know. And so I think that that's always something you got to have a plan for. So-and-so's down. What are we going to do? And those are conversations we're constantly having throughout this week and even starting into last week.
For you, the night before first game of the season, what's it like? Are you nervous, excited? Do you sleep much? What are those days for you?
I'm excited about it. Again, I don't. You prepare your football team. You do everything you can do to put them in a situation to be successful. You make sure they're loose, they're focused, and understand the fun's in winning. So that's kind of where my mindset is. Once the hay's in the barn, so to speak, we get through with our walkthroughs on Friday. We have a team dinner on Friday night. We got a couple walkthroughs here and there that, we're just trying to make sure they're focused on what they need to do to be successful. And the great thing is we're kicking this thing off at noon. So when we get up in the morning, we're ready to go. Pre-game meals at 8 o'clock. Special teams walks at 7:45. We'll have another walkthrough before we get on the buses, and we'll get on the buses, come to Williams-Brice, and see the Gamecock Nation.
Kind of going off that, well, here in the back, now that Jackson is the starter at Hammond, is it hard to balance kind of seeing him on Friday nights and then coaching on Saturdays? And what have you been most impressed with in the first 2 weeks?
They've won. They're 2-0, so I'm really impressed. That's all that matters to me. But not really. I could stay at the hotel room and watch a college football game on the West Coast, or I could go to watch Hammond play. So I'd rather watch Hammond play. And then I go check curfew at 10 o'clock and make sure all of our guys are ready to go for the next day. But it's an awesome to be able to see your son play.
Sherrod Green when he came here, he had kind of a reputation as a run thumper. How much progress has he made in terms of pass coverage to be able to be, a starting dime in this defense?
Well, he's a guy that is really instinctive. So he's really instinctive in run pass situations. But he's got coverage ability. We keep threatening him that we're going to put a dime DB in the game, and he doesn't like that. And he and Eldridge Thompson both are proud of their coverage ability to be able to play in space and in those situations. And I think both guys have progressed tremendously well. All righty. Thank you.